Congratulations! You've connected with the Pulpit Perspectives podcast. Join Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy as he connects with pastors where they preach, literally at the pulpit of their church. It's a point of view with purpose and personality that informs and inspires with real-life stories from great preachers you need to know. Your host is Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy. Let's join Kent at a pulpit with a fresh perspective from his guest preacher.
Hello and welcome to Pulpit Perspectives podcast. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy. Pulpit Perspectives podcast exists to create connections amongst North District clergy and their congregations. I'm coming to you today from Jamestown United Methodist Church in Elkhart, Indiana. I'm standing here in the chancel with their pastor, Pastor Bette Thompson. Welcome.
Hello, welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have you on the podcast. So, how long have you been pastor at Jamestown United Methodist Church?
This July was 1 full year, so I'm starting into my second year.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right. So what brings you joy?
I find joy when I look out at the congregation and I see their faces attentive and smiling, and the laughter sometimes that comes during announcements, and the children. I find joy in that and many other places, but mainly on Sundays.
Yes, to be able to look out and say, "Wow, I'm in this with you. We're in this together," and
exactly,
we're trying to figure it out together.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. What a gift that would be. So, when did you know you were called to vocational ministry?
Well, it started when I was a member at Mishawaka First United Methodist. And I started having these curiosities about, I wonder what it looks like to have a desk full of Bibles, making a Bible study, or preparing a sermon. I wonder what it feels like. And then I kind of shook that off and said, no, that's not me. The pastors there, Reverend Lauren Clemens and Gary Scott, gave me opportunities. So I got opportunities to pray and lead worship and do things. And I could sense that God was calling me finally.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, that's a testimony to the power of the local church.
Right.
To nurture the next generation of pastors.
Yeah, and I did have an experience at a senior high institute at the time down in Epworth Forest at one of the evening gatherings, and that confirmed for me that God was calling.
Wow, wonderful.
So that's a very significant part of my journey, is the experience I had through leading summer camp at Epworth.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you for saying yes. So I love the sport of basketball. So just humor me with this next question. So if your ministry were a basketball game and you were out on the court dribbling the ball and you took a moment to look up into the stands to see who was cheering you on, who's in the stands cheering you on, doing what you're doing in ministry?
At the present time, that would certainly be my congregation here at Jamestown. They're very supportive, and they're very loving and very much cheering me on. And then I would say good mentor and clergy friend, Diane Howard. She passed away about 3 weeks ago from an illness. She is always cheering me on. Diane would send me a text message every Sunday morning, sharing with me that she prayed that God would use me and that the flock I was shepherding would be used by God to do ministry in the world. So she's one of the biggest persons that cheered me on.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we certainly can't do this alone. So it's good to have those in the stands cheering us on. Yeah. So where do you go to recharge?
Oh. I like to recharge out in nature quite a bit. I like to go for walks and just look around and smell the air and do those kind of quiet things. It's nothing real out of the ordinary. And then I journal. I love to journal and take that time to notice things and recognize little glimpses of God and things. I like to write a lot. So.
Okay. All right. Are you writing on a computer or in a bound journal with paper and pen?
A little of both.
Okay.
But my favorite way to journal is to take off my glasses so I can't see what I'm writing and just type on the keyboard and keep typing and just let the program of Word do the job of taking me to the next line. And it allows me to get those thoughts out. And it's great when I'm sermon writing because I can just type what I'm thinking.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. All right. So what's your go-to Bible verse?
I would have to say it would be the verse right before 1 Corinthians where Paul in chapter 13 is the popular chapter about love. But right before it, he says, the very last verse of chapter 12 says, "And now let me show you a more excellent way." And I like that because it sums everything up. And this is the excellent way. And it's kind of like he has like this secret he wants to share with you, the most excellent. And I like that.
Wow. And that blends so well with our Wesleyan theology of being perfected in love in this lifetime.
It does.
There is more to the excellent way that we need to work on, that we need to explore, that we need to share.
Exactly.
That'll preach.
Yeah, thanks. It will, won't it?
Yeah.
It will. Thank you.
The More Excellent Way sermon series. Each Sunday better than the last.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So pretend with me you're going to go axe throwing. Have you ever been axe throwing?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've seen it done.
Okay. All right. So just pretend with me you're going to go axe throwing.
Okay.
Who from the Bible are you taking with you and why?
Oh my goodness. I would say that I would take Paul. I'm a big fan of the Apostle Paul and his writing and his style and the way that God used him, being an imperfect person, changing him. And Paul just knew how to speak to people. And even when he was imprisoned, he didn't get discouraged. He kept speaking through prison. I understand from one of my professors that he would hand select those that would go to speak his letters, that the letters were spoken in a vibrant way as Paul would do it if he were there himself. I like that. But I think I would choose Paul because he was really focused on following Christ and he was a loudmouth. He talked to people and didn't sway off the road. I like that.
So you're imagining a very vibrant conversation with him as you're practicing this axe throwing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right. And maybe if I'm reading between the lines, you're thinking as well, as aggressive as he was with his speech at times, he would be aggressive with the throwing of the axe and really be able to get it to stick.
Right. I was thinking as if we were in a competition together. In my mind, I had pictured us in a axe throwing competition. Yes. I would want him on my team.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that he would have wonderful things to share. And so, yes.
The Paul and Betty axe throwing champions of the world.
I know. I know.
Okay, wonderful. Well, next question. What lesson have you had to learn the hard way? What lesson have you had to learn the hard way?
The lesson that I think was the hardest for me was learning to slow down. Sometimes as pastors, we're ready to go places and experience things with the congregation that involve transformation and change, and they're just not ready yet. And so for me, that is frustrating, and it makes me frustrated inside. But if you learn to picture them as your flock, as sheep, and give them space and just love them, then they come along. And when they're ready to embrace it and call it their own, then that's good then, not forcing it to happen.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that part of your story. Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's an ordinary place that's extraordinary to you because of what's happened to you there? So it's an ordinary place, but it's not ordinary to you because of what's happened to you there.
You know, that square step right there is right there where I sit when I deliver the message to the children once or twice a month. And it's an ordinary thing to give a lesson to the kids. And I always love to see their faces. They're so bright and ready. And I love relating with them and finding ways to help them see faith. And then on Wednesday mornings, I'm right here on the sanctuary with 20 or so little 4-year-olds and talking to them about faith. That is a beautiful thing. And so ordinary things that are part of my week, but are extraordinary because they're just special.
Yeah. So right. I mean, an average person walking by would look at this chancel to say, well, it's just some floors and some steps and some carpet. Big deal, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Big deal. That's
exactly
nothing to get excited about. But when you look at that step over there or this space that we're standing in, you think, wow, I've had these incredible opportunities to share with children the love of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And that is no ordinary thing.
No,
that
it's
is a
not.
Powerful, extraordinary thing.
Especially on Christmas Eve when we sing Silent Night and have the candle lighting service. You know, you're up here at the chancel looking out, and that is almost overwhelmingly special for me, at least.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this chancel is a very, very sacred space. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, what do you hope your fellow clergy know? Whether you think about them, individually and personally, or more just in general, what do you hope your fellow clergy know? I
would hope that they reach out during times of struggle and joy, but the times of struggle can get the best of us. And I think that's the best time to reach out and just talk about it with others, and to allow other clergy or ones that you trust, and there's many of them for me, to let them help you shoulder the load a little during that time, and being not afraid to admit that we're suffering or that we're weak, that we're struggling with something happening in the world, or whatever that might be, that you reach out and talk to one another. I think that's important, and I would want people to know that I love to talk, and I love to be interrupted and call anytime.
Okay. So yeah, that power of connection.
Yes. I'm really, really into that connection of people. So
wow, wonderful.
It's too easy to get caught up in the schedule of sermon writing and counseling and Bible studies, and it's a wonderfully packed schedule, but we think of ourselves, but think of our fellow clergy.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I hope they know that.
Okay.
Well, last question, and I appreciate your time.
Okay.
So when you think about your future here at Jamestown United Methodist Church, however long or short you imagine that to be, I'm not trying to make a commentary on that piece, but when you think about your future here, what's the legacy that comes to mind, and how would you encapsulate that in 3 words? So I'm giving you 3 words to think about your legacy in the future of your ministry here. What 3 words come to mind?
I would say love with passion.
Ooh, love with passion.
Yes.
Why do you think those 3 words came to your mind?
Well, first I thought of live with passion, but I find that I always get back around to the very simple message of love. What does it look like? To be loved, to love others. And I think loving with passion is using your feelings and using somebody said, talking with your chest out, just loving fully, loving in the quiet moments when no one's looking at you, and loving the person in the mirror as well, because we forget that the person in the mirror is just as needing of our love. So that's why I say that.
Love with passion.
Yeah.
Well, that will be my hope and prayer for you as you continue to pastor these incredible folks at Jamestown United Methodist Church. Well, Pastor Bette Thompson, thank you so much for being a guest on Pulpit Perspectives podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome.
I really enjoyed this. It was fun.
Well, thank you. So this has been Pulpit Perspectives podcast, which exists to create connections amongst North District clergy and their congregations. If you want to learn more about all that God is doing in the midst of the North District, I would invite you to check out the North District Facebook page. You can also learn about the Indiana Annual Conference by going to inumc.org, inumc.org. Well, this has been Pulpit Perspectives podcast with your host, Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy, signing off for now.
There you have it, a fresh perspective from the pulpit with a great preacher. You know you want to hear more. You can do just that by connecting with Pulpit Perspectives with Reverend Dr. Kent Lundy on Apple Podcast and Spotify, where you can like and follow the podcast. What's more, you can spread the good news about Pulpit Perspectives in your church and with your neighbors. Plan now on joining Kent at the pulpit, where you'll meet another great preacher on Pulpit Perspectives.